In the previous tutorial, we had a fairly comprehensive tool that we used to interact with curve governance. But don't you ever wish that you could just use a beautiful command line tool like this one? Well, as it turns out, this was authored entirely with Ape Framework. Let's show you how it's done. The existence of a gorgeous command line tool like this really does a great job of decentralizing government, because if you have to write a custom script to be able to interact with governance, you're going to see that governance is limited to a few players who are exceptional at coding, whereas nearly anybody interacting with DeFi should be capable of downloading a simple library and executing on the terminal. As you can see, Ape Framework makes it possible to build fully robust and gorgeous interfaces. Let's take a look a bit under the hood. So this entire thing is built off of the crvDAO operations repository, and in some cases we're going to be peeking at a newer branch built by the great Chan-Ho Su. It's worth mentioning that this entire repository is a work in progress, so it's still actively being committed to. As such, if you check out the companion repository to this tutorial, it's not going to have a full copy of this, but we'll include instructions for how you can point to any of these branches. As you can see from the README, it's designed to be friendly to the intermediate DeFi user. So installing this library is pretty easy to get up and running. If you'd like to be able to, for example, read the IPFS description of any governance proposal, you have to include the IPFS project information within your environment variables. Similarly, you need an Alchemy key. Once you've got that, the installation of the tool is 4 simple lines. Simply create a virtual environment and then install the requirements file. And you'll need to run an npm install to make sure that your Ape hard hat is up to date. Presuming you have all that good to go, execution is very easy. If you're using this newest branch, you can actually just type in decode vote, pass a couple of flags to say whether it's an ownership vote or a parameter vote, and then pass the ID of the vote you're looking for. And this is echoed in the help. So if you type ape run decode vote here, -- help, it's going to read through and say, well, there's only one command available, that's decode. If you ask for further help on that decode operation, it's going to give you all the command line flags that you would expect. So this is the sort of functionality that people expect from a command line tool, the kind of ease of walking people through and being able to pass simple flags and parameters. How are you able to build something like this within Ape? Ape Academy, this site here, describes how Ape utilizes click commands to run the command line interface. This is a great option because click is an open source Python library that gives access to a high degree of functionality, and it's been added at this sort of base layer of the Ape Framework repository. If you take a look at click, your first question might be, why is it called click? Because if you're using a terminal, you don't always need the mouse. Some people prefer it because you don't have to have the mouse, but it's just short for Command Line Interface Creation Kit. As you can see, it's highly configurable, and all this kind of functionality that you would expect, like adding options to simple command line tools, is just provided with this attribute. So for example, for this here, you're saying hello world, and you're adding a couple of options like count, where you can pass parameters like the default if it's not passed, help text to explain what it does. As you can see, it makes it incredibly easy to be able to interact with it. Click organizes these into commands and groups, and you can see that this allows for the capability of arbitrarily nesting command line tools, passing callbacks, parameters, so a wide variety of functionality. And as mentioned, it is built into the core layer of Ape. So if you're using Ape, you have access to this ape.cli library, which allows you to import any of these native click objects and decorate your Ape functions the same. So this allows you to build robust plugins and scripts. In particular, we're going to take a look at the more recent version of this, which is using the ape.cli library. It's able to import from this library the network-bound command and network option tools. Network option is just a simple way of allowing some sort of basic click choices. As you can see, it's just being tagged to this ape function as a attribute at network option. And within this, this allows you to run the CLI program function, which will run through any of the Ape libraries that you've imported. So in this case, we're pulling in the description from the vote and logging that to the console. Then we're decoding the vote script and logging that to the console. When you log it to the console, of course, it shows up. And it's using some rich formatting here and there to make it look really good. It's a neat 69 lines of code, nice, to allow it to be able to present this gorgeous and robust command line interface. And at the end, what you get is the ability to decode or even post governance votes. So as mentioned, it's very simple because anyone can run these command line tools. If you're using the newer forks, you can even get rid of some of these functions, makes it a little bit simpler. Here we're decoding vote 573, which was the one we looked at in the previous video. So check that out if you'd like to see more information about how to interact with this directly in the blockchain. If you got any questions about this, or if you're just building something really cool and have help or just want to show it off, please feel free to drop it in the comments. We're always on the lookout and always happy to help out. Stay safe out there, friends.